like to debate for the motion or against the motion?
What do you think?
Against.
You're choosing against the motion. So for the judges, Queens are against the motion and San Cayetano are for the motion. You have half an hour to plan your things. So you just vote.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I'll show you guys where to go so that you've got
Good morning everybody. Just before we start, a quick reminder, if you put your phones on silence or switch them off. Yes, welcome everybody and many thanks to Queens. I see we have Assistant Head Janet Shorten at the back. Thank you very much, and Marlon for the excellent welcome, much appreciated, especially one or two who seem to take the wrong entrance, so thanks for all your help. Not too late to thank all the schools taking part. This is just the second session, the second debate of this session. As you know, we've got Agora, BIC Belver, French Lycée, Green Valley, the Academy, Montessori, Mallorca International in the north, and of course yourselves, Queen and San Cayetano. So it's going to be a good season for sure. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our sponsors, without whom of course all this would not be possible. Bama Pictures, Imperial Properties, new this year, Clínica Buenera, Ticket Travel, and Ibex Insurance. And thank you, of course, to our amazing team of volunteers who put up with me nagging them all the time, judges and timekeepers. And of course, the Rotary gang are all sitting over there. We've got John, Ron, Viv and Harry. Thank you very much to you all. Today is our second debate, and for Queens we have Alexandra Clark, Daria Vasilou, and Morty Walters. Welcome. And San Cayetano, Isabella Davison, Noah Sussman Marcos, and Alejandro Velasco. Welcome. Our timekeeper today is Alison Tong. The judges are Oliver Nelson and Sarah Collett, and the spokesperson is Izzy Newman, who some of you will know from previous years. Also joining us, we have two trainee judges, Steve and Carlos. Thank you for coming along again. The motion for today is: history as recorded today does not accurately reflect the past. History as recorded today does not accurately reflect the past. Debating for the motion is San Cayetano, debating against Queens. Please a reminder, as it's the early days in the season, timing. The bell goes when starting your speech. You've got 5 minutes. It goes again at 1 minute, which means you can make points of information. It goes again at 4 minutes, no more points of information, and at 5 minutes, it's time's up. Also a reminder that during the summing up, which is 2 minutes, no interruptions are permitted. Okay? So, let the debate start, and over to you, and thank you.
Good morning, right. Okay, so we have team 4. Okay, Isabella. Do you let me know when you're ready?
The Electrician, the winner of the creative category of the Sony World Photography Award, an international competition with over 415,000 entries in 2023. Out of all of these entries, imagine your photo being considered the winner, worthy of being first place. And if you lost, well, it was a small chance of winning anyway. The winner must have very well deserved it. But contrary to the past 16 years of the competition, something was different. Something was not as original as one might have thought. Because shortly after Boris Edgelson's win, he revealed that the photo was AI generated and that it was not human at all. It goes to show, with the developments of artificial intelligence, what is real and what is fake is now almost indiscernible. Good morning, my name is Isabella Davison, and today my teammates, Noah Sussman Marcos, Alejandro Velasco, and I will be trying to convince you why history as recorded today does not accurately reflect the past. Our first argument is based on technology. Let's look at this photo. Here, we have a photo of a video in which a triangular shape, what is considered to be a UFO by many, is parked in a Navy base. This video gained a lot of traction on social media, especially on Facebook. What fake videos such as these, which use CGI and in other cases sometimes AI do, is that they create a distorted perception of our own reality. There are 5.19 billion users of the internet worldwide, which makes up around 64.6% of our population. This many people are being subjected to fake news and images, a commonality.
Technology is only something recent, and it's only being developed now in the 21st century, whilst history spans back to millions of years. So how does this prove that history as recorded today as a whole is not accurate?
That's a good question, but we have to know that technology is developing constantly. And for example, there used to be these ancient Greek inscriptions, but with the new artificial intelligence that we've developed today, now we know what they mean and we are allowed to learn about those ancient civilizations that we could not before. When was that? Okay. Fake news and images. A commonality nowadays, as according to the University of Warwick, 1 in 3 altered photos are unidentifiable to the human eye. This inability to identify tampered photos, which are so widespread and are available to so many people, leaves an important question. Can we trust the internet? Can we trust artificial intelligence? Is AI a tool to understand our past? Or is it a weapon, which can easily distort our reality, and therefore also the recording of important events? Our second argument is founded on what is known as a confirmation bias. Confirmation bias essentially signifies the acceptance of information which supports our own pre-existing values and beliefs, and the lack of acknowledgement when presented with views that do not align with our own. Let me explain it like this. There are 2 major networks in the US, the CNN and Fox News. CNN is more liberal and Fox News is more conservative. Now, the information filtered through the news station chosen will most probably reflect our own personal beliefs and opinions. An example, a violent act is justified from one perspective and not from the other. If you agreed that the violent act was justified, then which network would you lean more towards? The one which supports your beliefs. This is the basis of confirmation bias. And our final argument has to do with propaganda and political agenda. To put an example of the effects of propaganda on historical events, I will introduce a recent development in politics. Amnesty International, a non-governmental organization which advocates heavily for human rights, has stated that in some of the latest Russian history books, the aggression towards Ukraine is justified, as it is a legitimate act of self-defense. This is a lie, and an obvious violation of children's rights to equality and truthful education. To conclude, it is clear that history as recorded today does not reflect accurately the past, as there are great technological advances that are manipulating data and information.
Isabella's argument about civilizations does not represent history as a whole, so therefore it only represents a part of history. Now I would like to begin my own speech. President Bush once said, "We will remember every rescuer who died in honor, We will remember every family who grieves. We will remember. Good morning, chairs, judges and spectators. My name is Alexandra. Here are my colleagues Daria and Morty. Today my team and I, we will be arguing against the motion, history recorded today does not accurately reflect the past. Today I will be discussing modern history regarding 9/11. Daria will be talking about multi-perspectives, and finally Morty will be talking about technology advancements. My father, he cannot pick up a phone anymore without remembering the traumatic screams and from his friends and colleagues. Every time he does, the screams and pleas for help haunt him to this very day. Why, you may ask? Because he was working for a company who had offices in the Twin Towers. The office floors were the 101st to 105th in the North Tower, just above the impact sites. Take a moment to think, imagine how terrified those people would have been in that day when the first plane struck. My father told me that through the office intercom, he and his co-workers could hear the terror in the voices of his New York colleagues. Later on, the company stated all 658 Cantor Fitzgerald employees who were present that day were killed, representing the largest loss of life among any single organization in the attacks. 9/11 is one of the most shocking and devastating events in modern history, and one we all know of. I'm sure the judges here today can still remember what they were doing and where they were that day. 9/11 was a series of terrorist attacks on leading buildings in the US, such as the Pentagon, Twin Towers, and an attempt on the White House, all made by a terrorist group called Al-Qaeda. Just under 3,000 lives perished in the towers, and at least 80 million people have seen this event take place. So how could it not be accurate with so many witnesses? The answer is simply, there is no chance of 9/11 being inaccurate. First, and here are the reasons to prove why. Firstly, a CNN reporter was reporting a completely different story that day in the bustling streets of New York, with the Twin Towers in the background when the first plane hit. This is primary data. Secondly, my father has his own personal experience with it. This again is primary data. And thirdly, an investigation took place with the leading investigator being Daniel Jones, who worked for the US government. All this proves that history recorded today does indeed reflect the past. And finally, if anyone was still in any doubt with regards to this event being recorded accurately, we today still experience the consequences of 9/11. You're probably thinking to yourselves, well, what consequences? Well, there are many, but I will list only one today. The various security procedures we must all endure when we go in the airport. They have become far more rigorous due to 9/11. All this evidence suggests that history recorded today does indeed accurately reflect the past. Before I finish my speech, I'd like to ask you one last question. Would you really consider the accuracy of this event when there is so much bloodshed, so much primary data, and thousands of millions of witnesses? Thank you for listening.
Fake news stories on social media platforms are 70% more likely to be retweeted by other users. Technology surrounds us every day and is an important part of our world. However, in recent years, technology, and moreover, social media has been used negatively to tweak historical facts and certain situations. The growth in fake news is one of the main reasons why history, as recorded today, isn't accurately representing the past. Good morning, my name is Noah Sussman Marcos, and today I'm going to be stating our two arguments in favor of the motion. Our first argument is based on technology. Now you may be asking, what is fake news? According to the Cambridge Dictionary, fake news are false stories that appear to be news, usually spread on the internet or using other media created to influence political views or as a joke. Not only is fake news one of the main contributing factors of altered information, but as well the rise in artificial intelligence such as ChatGPT. It has become the leading cause of tampered and manipulated events or situations. Have a look at this. Recently, a video was published online related to the Palestinian and Israeli war, which presented a helicopter being shot down by one of the militaries of one of the two sides. It was extracted from a video game that someone recorded and published onto social media. But more than 5 million people saw this video and believed what they saw.
Point of information.
Yes?
This is just one video. How does that represent all videos as a whole?
Well, due to the high amount of people viewing this video and due to social media being very widespread today than it was in the past, it can lead to inaccuracy with certain videos and certain information. This is a clear example of how technology can be used to alter the truth and create a different mindset of how events occur in reality. Whether or not this information is there debunked, the fact that it was documented and considered by many people can have long-lasting effects on these people as well as on the historians by difficulting their work to arrive to more objective truths of any event.
Point of information.
Yes?
Is it not really down to the individual to actually educate themselves and not just take everything at face value when it comes to fake news on social media? After all, it's not the most reliable source.
That's a good point. However, social media has a very important role with influencing, for example, with people's ideologies or beliefs. So this is why certain people may fall for certain videos or certain information found on social media. Do you recognize these two people? About a year ago, a case was brought out to the public that were two photos that were modified and edited by artificial intelligence of both Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin being arrested. A large amount of the public, especially on social media, believed it and thought it was legitimate. Even though they were fake, they can still interfere with the understanding and the collection of data. If you type the question, "Are dogs better than cats?" into an online search engine, you will receive articles that argue in favor of dogs. However, if you instead reverse the question and ask, "Are cats better than dogs?" you will receive results that also argue in favor of cats. This is a clear example of what is known as confirmation bias, which is the basis of our second argument. First of all, you may be wondering, what is confirmation bias? According to Britannica, confirmation bias is people's tendency to process information by looking for or interpreting information that is consistent with the existing beliefs. In social media, not all information is 100% reliable. Many times, the information isn't being extracted from objective and unbiased sources. In other words, they're more personal depending on the individual. An example to demonstrate this and to prove this is linked with social media. For example, there are certain news articles that claim to present facts. However, this is far from the reality since they're actually presenting a biased perspective that aligns with the reader's belief. Chris Jamie, who's an American philosopher and poet, once quoted that confirmation bias is the most effective way to go on living a lie. The rise in technology and social media has given the rise of fake news and manipulation using all kinds of artificial intelligence, making it almost impossible to discern the lies from the truth, as well as effects of confirmation bias that are much more widespread today than they were in the past. This is why we can confidently say that history, as it is being recorded today, definitely does not accurately present the past. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, judges, and spectators. Before I begin my speech today, I would like to counteract some of the points that the other side have mentioned. Firstly, Isabella talks about how AI technology has allowed us to learn more about Greek scriptures. So, how does this point prove that history as recorded today does not accurately reflect the past? If we know more about the past because of technology, then how can it be something that doesn't enable us to learn more? I will now begin my speech. Again, good morning everyone. In my speech today, I will leave you having no doubt whatsoever as to the motion that my side and I will be defending. History, as recorded today, does in fact accurately reflect the past. In my speech today, I will be delving into the benefits of revisionist history that have changed our perspective of society as a whole. But first, what is a revisionist? A revisionist is a historian who revisits the sources of a historical period with a completely different perspective, altering the way in which we see past events to this day. My point? If we begin to look around us and truly perceive history as a completely different concept, we will see that it is much more accurate than many of us tend to believe. History is all about multiple perspectives. Whilst historians of centuries past have recorded facts whilst wearing glasses tinted with bias, purposeful omissions, and oppressions, in this day and age, after vigorous trial and errors, revision, and many nights spent mitigating our ancestors' mistakes, history as recorded today is a much more accurate fruit of knowledge than ever before. Now, words are just words, and I, like any great historian, must prove myself to you all in order to show that my allegations are just the opposite. They are fact. Rosalind Franklin. She was the first scientist to ever discover the structure of the helix DNA. Initially, her discovery was attributed to James Watson and Francis Crick, who published their findings the same year. History was not accurately recorded because Franklin's attributions were overlooked. Period. Not only were her attributions overlooked, but because she was a woman, she was marginalized. Fortunately, all hope was not lost. Far from it. As more information came to light, historians and scientists alike were finally able to give her the credible recognition that she deserved. This is why I undoubtedly believe that history as recorded today does accurately reflect the past, because historical revisionism has allowed us as a society to learn more information on people who in the past have been marginalized and oppressed. Blatantly stating that history as recorded today does not accurately reflect the past goes against every second of every minute for hours and days and weeks and years that historians have spent.
A bit of information. You have stated that historians, the fact that there's so many, there's less bias. But what if most of these historians believe in a certain perspective? Wouldn't this alter the course of history and how we take it?
Of course, there are historians who believe in different things, but can we really call them historians if they do not accurately show us a portrayal of how history is? And yes, there may be bias in the way that historians portray facts, but in the end, it's not just some historical revisionists that revise over history, it's many different people, and together they can get a completely different perspective of what happened. As I was saying, are we going to deny these historians the efforts that they have made? Imagine it was you, working day in, day out, to prove that history as recorded today does accurately reflect the past, but no matter your contributions, your effort, your determination, history is still cast aside with a wave of one's hand as inaccurate, fake, biased, and altogether unworthy of our attention. I believe that I can rightfully state no one would like this, much less stand for it. This is why I undoubtedly believe that history as recorded today
Okay, first of all, I'd like to review what Alexandra said. And I believe that her example didn't actually completely represent how history is recorded today does not accurately reflect the past. Because I believe that this is only one argument, and she should have given more examples and given more point of views. History is recorded today does not accurately reflect the past. I will argue that political propaganda, the viral nature of memes, and political gain play a pivotal role in shaping and altering our perspectives of history. By examining specific examples of these influences in our world today, we can better understand how the past can be distorted and misrepresented. Good morning, my name is Alejandra, and I'm going to be stating in favor of this argument. History as we know it is often a construct shaped by those in power to maintain or enhance their authority. In this age of information and misinformation, the line between historical fact and political narrative have become increasingly blurred. To make my case, let's first explore how the role of political propaganda manipulates our historical understanding. One of the most potent tools used to manipulate history is political propaganda. It is the deliberate spread of information or ideas with the aim of shaping public opinion.
Information.
Yeah.
We know it's made to shape public opinion, so doesn't that just prove overall that history is reported accurately because we know that it is biased?
No, we don't. The problem is when we are presented with this type of propaganda, we don't know it. So for example, you might be said something, and it might be said from the government, from something you believe is reliable, but we don't know that. So now in the future, we do know it might be propaganda, but back then they didn't know. Back to what I was saying. A prime example is in the Stalinist era in the Soviet Union. Just as Stalin's regime employed propaganda to depict him as benevolent and a heroic leader, despite his responsibility for millions of deaths due to famines and purges. His image was carefully crafted through art, literature, and state-controlled media, and the brutal reality of his rule was hidden from the masses. In more recent time, the rise of the fake news and spreading of disinformation have really affected the way we perceive historical events. For example, the Pizzagate history, which was a conspiracy theory which believed that there was a child trafficking ring between pizzerias in Washington, D.C. Demonstrates how easily manipulated information can distort our understanding of events and perpetuate false movements. The influence of meme in the digital age cannot be understated. The viral, easily shareable things and videos are often used to make political statements or trivialize complex historical events. Consider that this is fine meme, which is a meme that depicts a dog sipping coffee in a burning room. It humor reflects the complexity of some people have to face off their situation. This meme can be seen as a commentary on how society sometimes responds to pressing issues with like climate change or political corruption. However, memes can also be used to oversimplify or mock trivialize or mock serious historical events. For example, the distracted boyfriend meme has been used to harmlessly detect people ignoring significant issues for insignificant distractions.
Form of information.
Yeah.
A lot of these memes, the whole premise of them is to be satirical. So the people that actually genuinely believe these memes and take them as historical facts, is that not more of an individual problem for them because they're not critically evaluating what they have before them?
Well, that's the problem, that not everyone has this critical ability. Some people believe every information that they are being said. So for example, you might not agree and you might understand that this is fake, but many people do not, and they believe this information and they are misdirected. So, politicians often manipulate our understanding of history to gain and maintain power. A contemporary example is the misrepresentation of the Black Lives Movement. Some political figures have attempted to reframe the movement to a more violent and destructive, rather than focusing on its core messages of addressing systematic racism. This assertion serves political interests by creating division and diverting attention from critical issues. In conclusion, the motion that history is recorded today does not accurately reflect the past is a reflection of the powerful impact of history. Our perception of historic events is constantly under threat to influence our views. As responsible citizens and critical thinkers, it is our duty to scrutinize the sources of information and question the narratives presented to us, ensuring that the history we pass on is as inaccurate and unbiased as possible. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Morty, and I am the third speaker for the team debating against the motion. To start off with, I would like to address some points made by the other team. To begin with, the first speaker, Isabella, mentioned that it is almost impossible to discern AI-generated images, which is simply untrue. Because of the development of modern technology, we possess a handful of images that are a handful of technology, that is able to decipher whether images are doctored or not. One notable example is image enhancement. Moreover, she only mentioned 2 examples of news networks which have been proven to be biased before, CNN and Fox News. But what of the countless news networks that have been proven to be unbiased thanks to fact-checking, such as Reuters and the Associated Press? I would like to move on to some statements made by the second speaker, Noah. Every example that he mentioned of doctored images was debunked already. Is that not a testament to our ability to decipher these doctored images? And finally, Alejandra. She stated that at the time of political propaganda being released, it was difficult to decipher whether it was truly propaganda or not. Yet nowadays, we can see through it, and she even corroborates that statement. And also, her statement about Pizzagate, well, that was a conspiracy theory countered by QAnon. QAnon is a fringe group with a handful of other ridiculous conspiracy theories and has already been discredited publicly. I will now move on to my speech. In my speech, I will be focusing on the advancements we have made as humans in our ability to accurately record history, whether it be our new excavation techniques or the countless examples of historians who have done absolutely visionary work in their fields, respective fields of history. To begin with, I would like to focus on some archaeological finds that we have made just last year. In Kazakhstan, a 4,000-year-old Bronze Age pyramid was discovered, a massive structure the size of a large house. 100 years ago, the notion of discovering something so monumental would have been preposterous, but thanks to modern technology, it is a reality.
For
Yes.
information,
Exactly.
how do we know that the technology being used to study the artifacts and fossils, how do we know that they're not damaging the artifact itself?
Well, of course, there is always the risk of damaging said artifacts, but if we can recover them, that is already an achievement in itself, especially considering the fact that a lot of these artifacts are buried under tons of dirt and other debris. And also there are ways to prevent this from happening, such as preservation techniques. Now, I would also like to include the example of Sir Ernest Shackleton's ship, the Endurance, straight from one of the first Antarctic expeditions ever. It was discovered an astonishing 3 kilometers below sea level. Thanks to modern deep-sea diving technology, we were able to discover this. Previously thought to be lost, no less. Now, I would like to move on to the accomplished historians who have helped us so greatly in our endeavors in recording history. I would like to start off with perhaps the most significant example on my list, Herodotus, from ancient Greece, frequently regarded as the father of history. His work, The Histories, helped us gain an intimate understanding of the Greco-Persian wars and ancient Greece as a whole. To simply cast aside his work as inaccurate, or because it was written, say, 1,000 years ago, is ridiculous.
Point of information.
Yes.
You just stated that, what was his name, Herodotus? Herodotus, he stated historical facts from around 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. How does that influence how history is recorded as in today?
Well, because it is one of the most significant works in antiquity, and because we have so much limited documents, and we were able to gain such an intimate understanding of one of the most significant conflicts in human history, it really just serves as a testament to his intellectual ability, and it simply cannot be cast aside, all because it was written all those years ago. Overall, the claim that history as recorded today does not accurately reflect the past is preposterous, as it blatantly generalizes. The enemy team has only mentioned a handful of examples that attempt to refute the millennia of work by humanity's greatest minds. Thank you for listening to my speech.
So you have 2 minutes to sum up. Time's up. So Queens is next to go first. In 2 minutes.
Overall, to claim that history as recorded today does not accurately reflect the past is a spit in the face to all the great minds who have contributed to accurately recording history. Joseph Needham, Hippolyte Taine. These people were visionaries in their own right. They spent countless hours perfecting their craft and labouring all to give us an accurate view of history. To simply cast aside their blood, sweat and tears is ridiculous. As I said before, history is not a subject that we can simply generalise on and state that all of our knowledge on it is inaccurate. Every example of fake news mentioned by the opposing team has already been debunked. Is that not a testament to our ability to see through the lies touted on social media or other platforms? In general, it is very difficult to say with certainty that history as recorded today does not accurately reflect the past when we are constantly gaining new information. Not only that, but the opposing team has yet to refute the evidence that we have nowadays from academic literature. All the examples they have mentioned are from social media. Let's be honest here, do we really consider social media a medium of accurate information? I think not. Thus, the message is clear to me. Our historians' work is not in vain. We have to hold their work in high regard, simply due to the fact that they have gone through constant education on this. Even after their several-year degrees, they are learning new things every day, and they are perfecting their craft. They are a testament to the human mind and the indomitable human spirit. Thank you for listening to my speech.
So first of all, I'd like to review to what Marty said. He claimed that facts from the past must be taken into consideration. But how do we not know that these were altered? For example, the game of telephone, the telephone game, is passing on information to information. And after passing it on from person to person, there will always be alterations of the facts. So how do we not know that these facts were altered, and why do we have to stick by them? Not only that, but Daria has also talked about Rosalind Franklin, and how, due to sexism, she was not considered. But there are still many cases where women are not recognized. Even today, the women are not recognized. Therefore, history is not correctly represented since they're taking out or not considering a part of the population. So, we have clearly expressed 3 compelling arguments to support our position, focusing on advanced technology, confirmation bias, and the government's political agenda. Firstly, advanced technology has fundamentally changed how we record and interpret history. In the past, historical accounts were often handwritten, vulnerable to error, and susceptible to degradation over time. However, with the advent of advanced technology, we have the ability to manipulate, curate, and even fabricate historical records by altering photos, videos, and documents which are taken currently. So, deepfakes, for example, can make it nearly impossible to distinguish real from fabricated content, leaving us with an inaccurate historical record. Secondly, the issue of confirmation bias must be considered. Historians, like any individual, are not immune to personal bias and perspectives. When crafting historical narratives, they may unconsciously favor certain perspectives or narratives, leading to an incomplete or biased portrayal of events. This can lead to the neglect of crucial voices and perspectives, making our understanding of history inherently flawed. Lastly, governments often wield significant influence over the recording of history. Political agendas can lead to suppression of inconvenient truths. Thank you.
Well, this is our second debate, as you all know, of the season, and a very exciting one at that. Congratulations to both Marlon and Tracy. Excellent teams. But now I'd ask the first judge to come up and make a few comments, or just stand where you are. Sarah, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, just a few words very quickly. Well done, all of you. Fantastic. Really. We admire you a lot. Just a couple of things about how to be totally engaging, and that is really to pause. Perhaps go a little bit slower at times, sometimes, because you have to think that your audience are hearing what you've got to say for the first time. And so definition of terms is really important. Sometimes you can't assume that everybody always knows what you're talking about, because you're the ones that have done the research. So that's really important, to pause and to define what you're talking about. Other than that, I thought you were super, really, really great.
Thank you. Well, I would like to say a few words.
Well, you're making our jobs more and more difficult every time. To sit here and try and stand in judgment, or at least make value judgments about your work is getting more and more difficult, because I don't think I'm as good as you are, so but history is written by the winners, as they say, and so we're constantly looking at rewriting the renaming of streets and things in Spain after fascists have been, all the street names are going. And then you pick examples this week from the Israel-Palestine conflict. So bang up to date, the debates on TV the last 24 hours about who did what and how can we trust this footage or that. It's a complicated and live subject, and it's always going to be complicated. And I think we've heard nuanced debates from both sides. To echo Sarah's, when you know what you're saying a lot, you put tons of research into it. We don't know what you're going to say until you say it. So pausing and slowing down, we're trying to have all this going in at the same time, but it's good. So I think well done to everybody. It's amazing. It's getting more difficult. So well, you're all winners, but this is going to tell you who actually
Somewhere.
Good morning, and yes, congratulations. I tell you what, the fact you're here at all is a credit to your, to your personalities, to your characters as an employer, someone that can see on a CV, guys, these guys were into debating. Honest to God, it can hold you steadfast in the future. So well done just for putting yourselves down and putting yourself forward. It is not easy. As Ollie said, most adults I know would never dream of being able to do what you have just achieved, so congratulations. One thing I will say is I have never, in the debating, I think 3 years I've been involved, I've never seen such fantastic use of points of information and the handling of points of information. At the end of the day, that's what debating is about. That's why you're here, to handle those stressful moments, and you all did it incredibly. But the person I felt as a whole on the team that we decided, because of our handling of that and the information, the leading women person of a debater today goes to Danny. And one thing I'd also like to mention from both sides, your passion that you put into, I mean, I'm sure there could be plenty of times that you're in your debates in the future and you get to vote, you have to debate on the actual subject you don't really want to represent. So the fact that you can twist that on both sides and still put that passion across, fantastic. I also last would like to mention those that stood in last minute, I don't know who you are. So well done to those who came in last minute, because that extra pressure is a lot to handle, so congratulations.
Already
on both sides. And both sides, I believe there was a last minute. This side as well. Exactly. So well done, congratulations. But there has to be a winner, and just won't mess about anymore and take any more time. It goes to the winning team this week will be Queen's College.
Could we have a picture of both the teams, please? Just the teams together. Just to say thank you very much for everybody that's here, the teams, of course, to Tracy and Marlon for excellent work, for those that came as well, and also
Very worth mentioning parents. We don't always see lots of parents.
exactly, I was going to say some parents for coming, thank you very much, and of course to the timekeeper and the judges. And I've been given a very important